Welcome to Conversations with a Modern Girl, the podcast hosted by myself, Shamika Patterson, the guru of mental health and well-being. Join me as we embark on a journey of exploration and discovery, as we deepen our thoughts, as we discuss topics that affect our community. I coined myself the queen of randomly thinking, and as I'm randomly thinking and having these discussions in these podcast episodes, I invite you to join me with these thought-provoking discussions on a wide range of subjects, from lifestyle trends to the culture of the Black church, and also discussing some obstacles that we face in middle-class America, also to the intersection of mental health and well-being. Be prepared to be inspired, challenged, and empowered as we engage in meaningful conversations that aim to spark positive change and personal growth. Get ready to expand your horizons and enhance your understanding of these important issues in Conversations with a Modern Girl. Thank you for joining me today as we discuss randomly loving a Black man. I have started this podcast and stopped it so many times because it is a sensitive topic, but it is a topic that needs to be discussed, right? So just a little disclaimer here in the beginning. I am a social worker. I'm a licensed clinician. And as a social worker, our goal is to strive to eliminate oppression, discrimination, poverty, social injustices, and violation of human rights. That's in our code of ethics. Our mission is to enhance the human well-being and to help meet the basic needs of all people, with particular attention to those that are oppressed, those that are not often given the rights, the equal rights, the human rights to be able to be protected in this society, regardless of socioeconomic class. These notes or these things that I'm talking about today, you may hear some paper ruffling because I did jot down some notes for this podcast. But some of my information I'm pulling from is coming from the Brookings Institution, the National Institution of Health, and the American Psychological Association. Those are just some of the areas that I'm pulling my notes from. I want to just start by saying, just out front blank, just out front in your face, that the Black man is the most unprotected endangered species. He is. And argue with your mama. It's the truth. He is an unprotected endangered species, because if he was an endangered species, he would be protected, right? So that's why I put unprotected in front of there. To be a male, to be poor, to be African American, is to confront on this daily basis this deeply held racism that exists in every social institution that is here. So many of the civil rights violations that affect Black males stem from, or create, I should say, these disparities that they experience in education, the criminal justice system, health, employment, fatherhood, mentorship, violence, you name it. It affects that, it rocks that, because of these stereotypes that have been ingrained into the fabric of America. It's genuinely, it's uniquely, it's entangled, it coincides with the institution of slavery, right? Let that sink for a minute. That's a lot I said in the first few moments, first 3 minutes. Because we have these stereotypes attached to the Black males, it has a negative impact on our Black families, our Black communities, because there's a belief that Black Americans, but we're focusing in this podcast particularly about Black males, are unintelligent, they're lazy, they're violent, they're criminals. This has affected so much in our lives till it's mind-blowing. As I said before, it's affected our educational outcomes, on our employment opportunities, our socioeconomic status. It's the dismantling of the Black family from these stereotypes, these labels that are placed on us. And we have been socially constructed to believe these stereotypes or to have these bias attached, these implicit biases attached to our thoughts when it comes to Black people in America, Blacks in general, When I say socially constructed is just like the theory that people develop this knowledge of the world, right? In this social context, that much of what is perceived is the reality. It depends on shared assumptions, what they've experienced. It's a bias. It's an implicit bias that we develop. And we all have biases, whether you want to admit to it or not. We all have biases. And if you feel that you don't have biases, that's a problem. It's human to have biases. It's human to have these thoughts because, like I said, it's been socially constructed into you. But the downfall of that is not acknowledging your biases and doing something to better yourself or educate yourself in those areas that you hold those untruths, those biases, or those labels that you're placed on certain groups of people. So I wanted to do this podcast because I wanted to talk about the Black man, because society paints a picture of the Black man in a negative light so many times in so many different ways. There are images on television, in the news, even on billboards. When you pass in your city, you may see Black males that are wanted or have been arrested or whatever on these billboards. We also see it in the treatment that Black men get in society, how women treat Black males. I'm not just saying white America or anyone outside of the Black race. Black Americans mistreat Black males too. Yeah, that's the gag, I have seen that firsthand. If you take the time and you think about stories or things that you heard in reference to a Black male, even from your own family, you have heard some negative narratives about Black men. Now, there have been some negative ideas placed in your head about the Black man because the Black man may have been absent from the home. And when I say absent, it's not just, he was locked up or he was on drugs. It could have been he was working, dealing with the stresses of the world, whatever have you. There have been some negative narratives put in place. And I was having a conversation with someone the other day, and we was talking about how did it come about that, the Black woman perceives the Black man and feels like she should be the dominant one in the family unit, or that she, is the breadwinner and she has to go out here and get herself. I took it back to when the crack epidemic happened in society. Now, I'm no king expert. These are just my thoughts. These are just conversations with a modern girl. But I took it back to then because that is when I felt there was the biggest turn in society. Drugs were pushed into the neighborhoods. People were developing into kingpins for selling these drugs. They capitalized on it. It just was a mess. That broke up the family unit. And so it left a lot, and people were locked up. The imprisonment of people, grew at that time. And families were broken up, and women started even more so being in the forefront of leading their families. Let's not also forget the war. The war took a lot of our Black males away as well. But the woman had to be the head of the household. And so giving a circumstance of that such, over time, you're going to find a way to survive. You're going to find a way to make it in society with the hand that you've been dealt, right? So I feel that a lot of the negative underbelly of what we perceive of our black men come from and stem from that arena, them not being able to be looked upon as the kings that they are, or be in the position to feel worthy, or be in the position to have a normal stress reduced life, like those of their counterparts, right? So women, black women in particular, had to take things into their own hands. So of course we became more educated, we became more dominant, we start leading the household. Then a black man comes around, you have this attitude of, I don't really need you. I'm doing it on my own. I'm making it. What are you bringing to the table? What's up? Basically, is what is going on, which leads me to randomly loving a black man. There's so many odds stacked up against a black male from birth throughout his entire life. A black man, a black male, is looked upon as a threat after the age of 8. You might say, well, Shamika, why you say that? Pay attention. I'm talking from my own experiences, from what I have seen. When they're small and they're little, and they're in pre-K or they're in daycare or they're at the church, school, wherever, Christian, whatever it is, they're loved upon. Oh, he's so cute. Oh, he's so precious. Oh, he's, this, that, and the third. You're invited to the birthday parties. Oh, him and Jack Jr. are just the bestest friends. And it's a wonderful situation, right? And sometimes, it carries over into like elementary school. We're going to say about fifth or sixth grade. 5th grade, we'll stop there. But at 8, it seems like the cuteness fades away, right? And it seems that as they become 9 and 10, 11, and 12 years old, the threat of them becomes more prominent and in the forefront of these relationships. Oh, he's playing too rough on the playground. He's too outspoken. He's being disruptive in class. He's not paying attention in class. These labels start being placed on our brown boys in particular, because that's where the focus is today. And so as they grow up in the school system, some odds are stacked up against them as being labeled as difficult, having a disciplinary problem or a learning disability, or, that he's not assertive enough, or if he is assertive, he's a little too aggressive or disrespectful in any aspect, because things that this black child may do will be frowned upon versus his counterparts in the same space, same situation. So it kind of starts in that area right there. It kind of starts there. And it evolves as they get to high school. Now, if they play a sport, they're kind of looked upon a little different. They love them. They're loved. They are glorified. Oh, he's awesome. He's this, he's that. If he gets a scholarship, he goes off to college. Oh, it's a wonderful thing. But that does not eliminate him from being a target. That does not eliminate him from his skin color. It does not eliminate him from the harsh realities of society that have been etched into his chemical makeup. It doesn't eliminate him from that. And I use that example of it starting at this grade level because I want you to see the burdens that the black male carries from a young age on up, regardless of what he is involved in, who his friends are, where he lives, whether he plays a sport or not, there is still a stigma attached to the black male. This stigma carries on into adulthood as well, as we know. He has to be very careful about what he does, what he says, what he gets involved with, good or bad. It's always going to be a harsher penalty that's attached to him because of his skin color. We know it, we see it, we've experienced it. And I say that it's not just the opposite people in society, but even within his own community, there are certain stigmas attached to the black male. He's sorry, he didn't show up, he a deadbeat dad. He's a cheater. He's, always hustling. He's doing it's negative things that attach to the black man. I don't think we take the time to really see the black male for what he is. And we always focus on, attention is always drawn to the negative things or the negative black males that get, this attention, or, the things that they do or don't do. So I wanted to do randomly loving a black man because black men deserve love. They deserve to be seen. They deserve to be honored. They deserve that. Now, it is some bad apples in every culture, in every aspect. There are some bad apples, okay? They are. But for for those bad apples, there are some really good black men out there that are really doing the best that they can. And it's not about how much money he has. It's not about where he lives. It's not about any of that. It's about just being a good stand-up man, And people need to understand what these men are facing on a daily basis. You can take a man that works at the industrial plant, a salesman, another man that may be a teacher in the school system, another man that may be in a business C-suite. When I say C-suite, I mean like CEOs, CFOs, though it might be in that arena. You may have another man that works in environmental services. What all of those black men have in common is not only their skin color, but the weight of having to show up and prove something every single day, despite of their expertise, despite of their abilities. It does not matter. They have to make sure that they are doing everything that they're supposed to do and some, just to maintain the positions that they have. So you wrap that into, that's what goes on outside the home. That's a snippet of what goes on outside the home. Then inside the home, you're looked upon for every resource there is to carry your family, to carry your children, to carry your wife, to carry your significant other, to carry the weight of the world on your shoulders in all those areas as well. That's a lot of pressure, especially for men that did not see a man before them. Whether that man's father passed, whether that man's father was incarcerated, whether that man's father was absentee, whether that man's father was in and out, it doesn't matter. To go and then try to have a family unit and not have seen it before is very complex. To be a father 24/7 is complex if you never saw it. So hats off to these men that are out here doing it, that are out here showing up, and they're making it work. And the only thing they're going off of is what I don't want to be. I don't want to be like this. I don't want to be an absentee father. I don't want to have my family in poverty. I don't want to be jobless. I want my kids to have the best. Those are the things that they're going off of what the things they wish they had coming up. Right? So when I say randomly loving a black man, I am giving this charge to those that are listening to really look at a black man through his lens the best that you can. Let me ask you a question. How often have you just randomly spoke to a black man in passing? Or do you step aside and get out of his way because you feel like threatened, or you feel uncomfortable in some type of a sense because of the way he may be dressed, or what he may be listening to, or maybe it's the way he walks, or maybe it's a group of people that he's with? Instead of making eye contact and speaking? Or, how often have you seen a black male in uniform and said, "Thank you for your service"? I remember my husband would be in uniform. Rarely ever that black people say, "Thank you for your service" to him. Rarely ever. We got to change that, people. If we can't expect people to respect us, and we don't respect ourselves. I was looking at the social media the other day, and the issue with Cam Newton and this camp that he was at, and these young black males, for whatever reason, for whatever happened, they got into an altercation and Cam is out there slinging them around like rag dolls. And, people like, well, what happened? Or, we can't depend on our athletes to be mentors and things. We can't depend on them to raise our children. That's what we can't do. We can't depend on them to raise our children. But I brought that up to say that the lack of respect that we have for one another, the lack of respect that we have for the things that our brothers may be trying to do, whether it's on the job, whether it's in the home, whether it's in the community, instead of rallying behind them and supporting them and being straight up with them, we find ways to tear them down, to stop them. A black man can have a business. Let's say he can have a barber shop. He can have a barbershop. He can have a business and he's operating this business. And there'll be others that'll speak against that business. So now that black man has to deal with that and maybe even some delinquency in his funds because of the negative narratives that may have been put out there in society about him by his own people in his own community. So when I say randomly loving a black man, and I'm talking about these matters and these labels and these stereotypes that are attached to the black man, they're not just coming from our white counterparts. No. They're not just coming from them or others in society. They come a lot from our own people. So that's why I wanted to bring this to the forefront and have this conversation about loving our black men, because black males have been depicted as being violent. And the racists fear that this is a result of things that have happened to them, the environments that they come out of. Not to say the things that we've endured through slavery. The things that we've endured in society go back to slavery in some aspect. But, that's a conversation that they don't want to have. But it does. But I wanted to have this podcast because I wanted to speak about randomly loving a black man and taking the time to really look at how he is unprotected. We've seen the cops, the terrible, terrible murders, I call them public lynchings, of our black males at the hands of law enforcement. We've seen it. We've read about it. We've heard it. And there are so many more that we know nothing about. He's unprotected. He's endangered. We have to love on each other. We have to love on our black males. Regardless of what you may feel or think or whatever your narrative may have been etched into your mind, we have to take a strong step forward and really acknowledge our black men for what they are, especially the ones that are wholeheartedly working and trying to preserve the family unit. We as black women, and within our own right in our own spaces with our master's degrees and our doctoral degrees and all these things are wonderful. It's wonderful. It is. But we cannot take the place of a man. Regardless of how you may want to spin it, we cannot take the place of a man. We are gonna be slighted in the job force. We're gonna be slighted. They'll probably put a male there before us. It's a male dominated society. It really is, till it comes to race. But it is. But I say that because even though you have this great education, or even if you don't have this higher education, but you have been leading your household for so many years or so long, and you are operating on your own and have been able to make it, that's wonderful. That's wonderful. But you got to learn how to scale that down to allow a man to come in and be a man. And you may say, well, when you see a man, let me know. Yeah. Well, if you out there picking up the wrong ones, that's on you, sis. That's on you. Because some of us gravitate to the weaker man because we want to be able to dominate them. But hey, I digress. That's another conversation. I'm talking about these black men, these strong black men out here that I know that are running companies in entrepreneurship, working on their jobs. And I'm not talking about in C-suite jobs all the time. No, if you just showing up at your job, I don't care if you the manager at Red Lobster. Speaking of that, I saw a man in Red Lobster the other week, and he was walking back and forth, and I figured he was the manager there. And so I spoke to him. Hey, how you doing, sir? He looked surprised, looked startled. I said, are you the manager? He said, yeah, I'm the manager. I was like, okay, all right. Hope you have a nice day. Hey, is something wrong? I said, no, nothing's wrong. I just wanted to speak to you, And, they don't, but the black man has been beaten down so bad in society to when someone gives a kind gesture or just speaks to him, acknowledges him, he doesn't even know he don't even know how to receive it. He don't know how to receive it. That's sad. It's sad. And I just want people to listen to this podcast and start having the conversations about really acknowledging our black men, really loving on our black men. If you have a black man in your life, whether it's your father, whether it's your brother, whether it's your son, whether it's your husband, etc., love on him. When he goes out that door every day, it's a cold, cruel world out there. Like I said, we are socially constructed to believe all these things when it comes to a black man because of his skin. That's hard. It is. So make a good space, at least in our communities, where they can be authentically themselves. A space within your home where they can relax and don't have to hear the nagging or the negative commentary from you or anyone else. They get enough of that in society. Let's uplift our black men. Let's love on them. Let's appreciate them. And for some of you listening, you may be cringing because it sounds foreign to you because nobody's never called it out and said it. Or you have so much reservations about it so you don't even know how to fix yourself to get in position to do that for a black man. You feel like you're giving something away that you shouldn't be giving away. And that's not true. We should honor our black men. Come on now. Everybody's not terrible. It's some black men, as I keep saying, it's some black men that are really, really wholeheartedly giving the best foot they can. They're giving the best of themselves that they can. And they're met with so many challenges that they don't even discuss with you, or they don't discuss with anyone. So many challenges and disappointments and setbacks that they experience on a daily basis, whether they're in the military, whether they're on a regular job, whether they're working at an industrial plant, whether they're working in the school system, whether they're working at the church, whether they're working wherever, coal mines, it don't matter. They are facing so many different negative things on a daily basis that they don't need just one more thing. I say this and I end with this. I hope that you listen to this podcast, have conversations with others about randomly loving a black man. Take the time to acknowledge a black man, speak to a black man, love on a black man, support a black man or black business, and show up and be there that we can help rebuild our communities and get back to a place of harmony and love as what we are rooted in and where we come from. Thank you for taking the time to listen to me today. Until next time, out. Thank you to all the listeners out there. I ask you to please go to my YouTube page and like and subscribe to Conversations with the Martin Girl. Also, take the time to follow me on my social handles. Instagram is Martin Girl Movement. Facebook, same Martin Girl Movement. Thank you.